Welcome back to Faithfully Ever After. We are on episode 3 of our podcast.
Now, for the people who are very intrigued with your story, I heard something behind the scenes and I cannot let this pass. This episode, what is it called again?
Forgiveness and faith.
Forgiveness and faith. Now, could you tell us, what do we have to forgive here? What is happening with this forgiveness aspect of things?
It's always the husband.
No.
So I'll take you back to Jamaica. That's where we left off on our episode 2, and we were talking about that you were not coming back.
Yeah. So we had left off and we were there. It was about 3.5 years at that point. And you were just working all the time. And I didn't get married because I didn't want to be with you. I married you because I wanted to be with you. So it was in the summers, I'd often come home and visit family. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to come back this time. I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't want to be in another country completely alone. I want to be here with you. Yeah. And you made the decision to come back. You gave up everything to come back. You chose us.
It was an easy decision. I don't think I put a lot of thought into it. It was I didn't realize where we had reached. I didn't realize that the excessive work and the life where life was transitioning into, I didn't realize the impact that it had at the time. And
were you holding a grudge? Did you have a grudge deep down?
No. Against my wife? No,
Correct.
No, never. It was a moment in my life where I don't have a lot of educational background. I'm not very well educated. I have a grade 8. I did a little bit of grade 9 when I was there.
But the most competent and capable person I know.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, so I don't have a lot of background, but where I was heading was incredible for me to know that I had achieved, this position in a publicly traded company, managing, multiple parks and people and, targets and budgets and whatnot. It was a great accomplishment for me. But my marriage and my life was of more importance, of course. And I resigned. I handed in my resignation letter. That didn't go very well in the beginning. I had one of the owners there take my letter and put it in the desk and tell me that it never happened. And it wasn't
Were
a
you
choice.
offended by that they didn't take you seriously?
No, it was actually the first time in my life in that kind of in that context that I really felt appreciated.
You recognized your own value.
Yeah.
Which is what I was trying to tell you the whole way through.
Yeah. No, I did recognize.
Prove.
I did recognize it. It was really, it was really nice. It was where I felt most appreciated ever. It was the resignation letter went away in a desk, and then all of a sudden came all of the offers and the more money and what can we do to keep you, and it's as I was starting to lead up to it, he looked at me and he started to say no, and I'm like I gotta go. It's my family's leaving, and that means I gotta go too. It was never up. There was never a debate. I never had to think about it. It was, this is where we're headed, and you know what? For the first time in the company's history, and I think the only time in the company's history, they actually gave me a $20,000 US dollar bonus and told me that any location, anywhere in the world, if I ever wanted to come back, the door was open. So for me, that was amazing. I really appreciate them. And
how many years ago was this?
So that was in 2016.
2016,
Now,
2017.
have you cut ties completely with that part of your life?
I haven't. I mean, I still speak to one individual, my friend Alejandro. He's gone on to be the CEO of another company down in the Caribbean and out of Miami. So I keep in touch with him.
Yeah.
Outside of that, there was it's funny. That part of my life created friction in a lot of different aspects, not only in my marriage because of the amount of work, but it created some friction among some of my friends that originally brought us to the island down there. So it actually caused a lot of damage. I came to realize that industry and being in that position could actually do more harm than good. And there was actually a common theme when I spoke to a lot of the other managers and whatnot that were there. Everybody was divorced.
Yes.
Oh.
So it was a very demanding field.
So this is for the people who are with no ties to a relationship, perhaps? Someone that can go and come as they please without a commitment of a partner?
No, I think their jobs led to their divorce. The
Oh,
No,
job was
no,
so
yes, yeah,
demanding
yeah, yeah. That's what
oh,
it
I
that it
was.
was a
see.
cause of divorce.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so now he decided that you come first. Period. End of
Period.
story.
Yeah.
Here's the thing now. Were you peer pressured by anyone here to kind of instigate almost like he's not worth it? Like, did anyone ever give you the who did you marry feel?
No, not at all. Not at all. And then I think that's when we talk about surrounding ourselves with the right type of people. I think that's where that's important. We actually had a pastor from our church come and talk to us and support us through things and kind of be a middleman. And several pastors and just people in the church were actually encouraging us to talk through it, figure it out, work through it. They actually recommended the counselor therapist that we ended up seeing and speaking with. So it was,
Did you get therapy right after?
So it was when we were. She had left already. She came back as she normally would in the summertime to spend time with her family, but she wasn't coming back. And it was at that moment where I'm like, wake up. And that's where the gift started and sending off, from Jamaica. Now I was
Let's
just,
talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So there was some gifts being given.
Yeah, yeah.
Explain why.
There were a lot of gifts. So, well, you come. It hit me in the face like a ton of bricks. I'm like, wow, what I thought was going to be the most important part of my life was the most insignificant. And, I felt like a heel, for a lack of better words, to say, wow, I spent all these years in the Caribbean, which could have been amazing years. And instead I spent them working harder than I had ever worked, and with more responsibility that I ever had, that I didn't sign up for. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, because I learned a lot of things. I took a lot away from that. But I prioritized it. And that's the one thing that I learned and that I'm going to take away from Jamaica, was to prioritize the things that are important to you. Because a lot of people don't do that. I often hear, I don't have enough time. I can't. You don't understand. We're so busy. I get it. I get it. Life is busy, especially living here in Canada. It is very busy. And we are always playing keeping up with the Jones and whatnot. But the truth of the matter is, you're going to prioritize what's important. So when you get that invite or you get that opportunity, if it's not important to you, it goes in the back burner.
yeah.
But if it is important, you bring it to the front and you'll make time for it. I've had people make time for things on a whim because it was important. So please don't tell me that it's not. And that's the one thing that I've taken away from our time out there.
So before we talk about the faith aspect, which is a very big pivotal moment in this podcast in general, the gifts that were given to you, how did you receive them? How did you mentally and emotionally receive them when they were being given?
Well, it just spoke to me that he wasn't giving up. I didn't feel like we were apart even when I came and he was wrapping things up. It was a very firm no, you're first. And I think he was just trying to prove it, because there was that difference, even more so when you weren't in the physical with me to be able to do it that way. So there was lots of little just surprises and things that came in to just be a reminder of, no, I do love you. Or to be honest, the biggest gift was you choosing us, even after being offered the bonuses and pretty much anything that you wanted. You just chose us. So the gifts were great, but your choice was enough. But especially with the distance that we had at that time, it was just those daily, like, little things, little reminders. You did whatever it took, whatever you could think of, just to remind me of how much, you loved me and how invested you were and how you weren't throwing this away.
Now, of course, the next big chapter that comes right after that, and I know that you guys can really talk about it, together. Faith. Now, faith can be interpreted in this day and age, in society as we see it. Faith can be talked about in a different way. How did you guys present faith into your marriage, into your relationship, into your family?
So when you got back, we really plugged in.
Yeah, we did.
We fully plugged into church, and I think faith was really, like, at the forefront of everything that we were walking through.
It was. It actually became the cornerstone of our life, not just our relationship.
Yeah.
And it, I'm still new. I'm going to say I'm still a new Christian, relatively new in comparison to the people that we're surrounded by, but even more new back then. get into it for me in respects to I didn't understand it fully, and I had a lot of questions. And if you don't have questions, it means you're not taking it seriously, if you ask me. And if you are taking something seriously in your life, you question it, right? You have questions. And I remember doing a course led by Pastor Lindsay there at what was Maple Community Church, which is now North City. And it was called Alpha. And it was a safe space to ask the difficult questions that nobody wants to ask. And I remember going into this course, and the first session, it was a connect group. The first group was, they would play a video, and I think a lot of people there were already very strong Christians. So when the video ended, I heard things like God is good and He's so faithful, and I sat there scratching my head because I had all these questions. I'm like, but wait a minute, but what about this, and how about that? And I believe that I think Pastor Lindsay actually really enjoyed that Alpha course with me because it was what the course was designed to do.
Yeah.
And here I
Those are the
am.
questions that are meant to be asked there.
Right.
But you have people who feel like, well, I'm in church and everyone thinks that I have it all together or I should know all this. So they were too afraid to ask. Whereas
Right. Where
you
I have
just
no
say it how
filter
it
between my
is.
brain and my mouth. So as I was thinking, it would just come straight
If
out, and
there's
I'd
a
be like, hey,
God,
yeah, listen, why if there's a God, why is this? And all
yeah.
this suffering
Why is there
and prayers.
poverty and people suffering and children in
Yeah.
Africa? Like you were asking.
So how were those questions answered? Those are some big questions.
So that's what's so great about Alpha is we don't have all the answers. It wouldn't be faith if we could see it all and knew it all 100% for what it is and why it is, right? It's the whole point of faith.
But you see things in life, and things become more evident as you get deeper into faith. And you know, I met Maya at a point in my life, that pivoting point. It wouldn't have happened if it happened before or after. Um, and you start to see, and I would always refer to things because, I wasn't completely without faith. I would just refer to it as the universe, and I always kind of felt like the universe was looking out for me. And I would say it all the time. I was never that guy. I always believed that things would work out in the end. I had friends of mine that would tell me that they would say, hey, this is the guy that lost $20 and then found 100. And there was always that, but I believe there was a power, of course. I just didn't really refer to it as God. And I don't know if it was because I was just being stubborn or ignorant, and the people of the world don't look at the time. I didn't believe that they really, they were fond of people who were religious, right? But yeah, I've come to
So for you,
realize I've come to realize that God played so many parts in my life in so many places and time. I see it today that He was there, even when I didn't know He was there, or I didn't want to acknowledge that He was there. I see that He was there.
So that's what I was going to say. You didn't necessarily get those answers in Alpha. So not not hearing what you wanted to hear. Like, how did you get there? How did you decide faith?
Well, yeah, because you start to look back and you say, well, God was there here. Because there's other parts of my life that I haven't, put it on the table. The fact that, yeah, my father was a heroin addict when I grew up, but I also became a drug addict. I became a drug addict myself, and at a very young age. And it was God that walked me through that. And it was Him that was there that helped me out of it. And it was Him that gave me the strength to become who I am today. And I never saw it when I was in it, but I see it today. And it was God that, when I was sitting there asking the universe to send me a hot chick that was younger than me, it was God that provided who I needed in that time, right? And I appreciate that she's a hot chick younger than me, but that's where I see it today. And like Maya said, faith is something that you choose to believe, and I've made that choice.
So now the choice has to come to you when it comes to faith. You had a very different upbringing than most. You had a child at 16, almost 17. So right then and there, your childhood was over and your adult began.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I was angry at God during that time. So I wasn't really, I didn't want to go to church. I was forced to. Yeah, I was in a...
Let's talk about that for a second. You were upset at what was dealt to you?
Yeah.
So how did you
I
How
was
did
like,
you
why
deal with
me?
that?
Everybody else my age is doing it. I like,
Ah.
you use protection and just so happens to doesn't work for me
Yeah, like
kind
why
of
does he
thing,
hate
right?
me kind of thing.
Yeah, why me? And I had everything going for me. I was a straight A student. I wanted to become a doctor. I got offered a scholarship before I even hit high school. Crazy athlete, student council, all of it. So one of the most popular kids in school. So I was really upset. And yeah, it was a choice to move forward and walk into that. But I was upset. I was like, why me? I had everything going for me.
So how did you deal with the answer? Like how did you get the answer of why
Yeah,
me?
so my family forced me to go to church. It wasn't an option. It was you have to go. So I continued to go to church. And to be honest, I wanted my son to grow up in church. Just because I was angry at God didn't mean that I didn't know that, the church instills all these morals and values and things that are just good for him. It's who I wanted him to be shaped into and how I wanted him to be. Um, there was a day where I was in church on a Sunday morning, and my brother was actually a volunteer junior high pastor at this church at the time. And I went and I was sitting with him up front, and he, in the middle of worship, looked at me and he said, and he had tears in his eyes, and he's like, I'm so afraid not to spend eternity with you. And he was just sobbing. And I remember turning and looking back to the front and just in my heart being like, you know what, God? Fine. I'll give you a chance. But if you don't show up, like, I'm done. I'm out. And I didn't just say it. I actually took steps. Like, I was praying that week. I was reading my Bible. I was creating opportunities for God to step in. And there were just some crazy things that started. Crazy things started happening. I would read something in my Bible and someone would say that exact verse to me during the week, or the message on Sunday would be exactly what I was just so happened to read. I needed to get my son into daycare and I was barely 18, couldn't really get a credit card. I needed to have one on file. And the lady at the bank, I didn't even ask her to. She helped me. She did everything she needed to do to get it. And it arrived in less than, she told me 4 to 6 weeks. It was there in like 10 days. And she called me and she was like, I actually think they must have messed up. She's like, I'm going to call and check. She's like, but I have an So all these really weird things where I could just see God's footprints, handprint over my life.
But there's a saying though when it comes to God, and he says, I'll never just give you something. I'll give you the assistance to do it, but you have to do it the rest of the way. So do you believe that maybe in that moment of you praying for something like why me, he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to give you the resolution, but he was going to give you the path to it.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the path that
Yeah.
you took?
Absolutely. I think that he gave me everything that I needed to continue to step forward, and he equipped me with the things that I needed to navigate being a teen mom and um, leading me back to faith.
So now this for both of you. How did you step in to assist her through this, even though she did it on her own, but then she went through another chapter with you? So how did you both come together as a team and make this happen?
Um, I'm.
Well, that was when I made my firm decision. That's when I knew that I needed God in my life, right? Like I was like,
Mhm.
like church is a non-negotiable for me. I'm choosing to live this way because I saw what God did in my life. And early on with you, I shared with you about a missions trip that I was on. And not everybody believes in miracles. And I never really had prior. I've never seen a miracle for, you can say 100% without a doubt
Mhm.
that that was a miracle. But I started to share some of those little things with you. And I feel like, it opened your eyes to the possibility of it and the things that God can do,
Yeah,
right?
because that's what it was leading up to. It was the journey. So as much as I have to, as much as I give credit to all the people around me, I have to give the biggest and the most credit to my wife, because it was her that introduced me to it, and it was her that walked through the journey with me. And it wasn't always easy. I'm not easy to deal
Mm-hmm.
with on a regular basis. I know that. But she walked with me even when I had doubts and when I had questions and when it didn't make sense. She was there. So as much as obviously I give thanks to God for the journey, but the tool that he used to bring me on the journey was my wife.
Yeah. And I was patient through it because it doesn't happen
No,
overnight
it doesn't.
most times, right? When you have those questions and you're just trying to get the answers.
Yeah, because you often go back and forth in your life, and that's when I made the comment earlier that that's where I started to recognize that he walked through a lot of my life with me,
Mm-hmm.
even though I didn't see it. And as you go further in your journey, you get to backtrack and see it's like that poem from the anonymous poem Footprints in the Sand. It was then that he carried you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you guys say that the reason why you're so compatible in this state right now and that why you can both be in the same mindset of faith and such is because of the very difficult upbringing that you had? Because you both technically had a certain element of hardship on each aspect of life.
I think that faith brings so much to your life, period, not just the relationship that we have. Um, Faith is such a powerful component in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what brings us together in our marriage, but in our life, though, as well.
Yeah, and I would say too, like things that are taught biblically, even for marriage and just relationships and just ways of life, are completely contrary to what the world tells you to live by. Um, there's all about me, self-seeking, all of that, but the Bible's completely contrary to that. It's no, put you first. I would never put myself before you. So a lot of those pieces are just, if you lived in the way of the world, I don't, that's why I can understand why so many relationships fail, because when you're just after it for yourself or self-gain or self-seeking, how can you
Well,
like,
it's also, yeah, it's the context that you take it in. It's like you said, it's the Bible says X, but society says
yeah,
Y.
yeah,
And, even for men, there's the ones who abuse the religious faith as well too, and says, well, the Bible says you need to do this. Yes, but there's
or
other
men are
things
the
that
head of
says
the household, so I need
right.
to
So you need to
submit,
listen to
or
what, but that's not true, right? When you read the Bible, it tells you that when God created woman, he created what the Hebrew word was, Ezer, Ezer. I can't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but that's the word that God used to describe woman when he gave her to man, and that is a very powerful word because God describes himself, uses that word to describe himself 16 times, in the Old Testament. And a woman is a man's support, lifeline, his everything. This is what man needs to get through life. So you got to you got to use the Bible, not use the Bible. You have to take it for what it is. You can't abuse it and use it to what works for you, kind of thing, right?
Well, so we're at that happy place, that 30-minute mark where, we have to dial things down even though they're so exciting. I guess the one question I have, which I think all your audience is going to relate to, is if faith is so powerful, how can others that lack faith bring it into their life?
I keep thinking as we're talking today, knock and the door will be open to you. I don't know why that verse just keeps coming to my mind. And it's like, seek and you will find. And I think, for people who are kind of on the fence and questioning or not sure, kind of like I did when I was angry, just, ask God to show you, give it a try, see what he does with it. Yeah.
Well, we're here to open the door. And I think that's one of the main purposes of why we're even diving into this journey. It's how can we bring faith to others?
Yeah.
Because
we believe faith is a key component.
it is.
I don't know
right?
that we could do it without.
And in life in general, right? It's if you can feel it through us, through God, using God using us, like Maya was the tool for me. I'm hoping to be that
This
we
can
are
be
a tool for others.
Yeah.
Would you put faith as like a lighthouse where it's if you're lost at sea, you can always look somewhere and see that lighthouse and it'll guide you home?
Yeah, absolutely. It brings hope too. So when you're in a situation where you're frustrated or, feeling like you're not going where you want to be going or what's next, or, there's that sense of
The
hope,
truth,
like
the light,
the way
the way.
God will see you through it.
Right.
Goosebumps. And now with that, of course, we're going to tell everyone where they can find us. Take it away.
You can find us at Faithfully Ever After on our social platforms, Instagram, TikTok, and I think somewhere down the line we've got a YouTube page. Or you can contact us straight through our email at contact@faithfullyeverafter.ca. We are rooted in faith, growing in love, and that's Faithfully Ever After.
Until next time.